Toronto, Ontario is tonight's destination for some MLS Next Pro action. Toronto FC2 at home for the first time this season, taking on Carolina Core in the Eastern Conference. Hello family, here are some views from the 6 as we get ready for this matchup in the East. And Toronto coming off a win versus Inter Miami last time out, a gritty win, said their head coach Gianni Cimini, one in which they went down a man, did not concede, and ended up scoring the game-winning goal. Michael Sullivan, the captain, had that finish for Toronto. And Carolina Core coming off a thrashing at the hands of Chattanooga, trying to get back on track early in the year. Let's take a look at the Toronto starting lineup for Gianni Cimini, and it will be a 4-3-3. 5 changes from their win versus Inter Miami due to some players being down at the GA Cup. The U16s and U18s playing down at the GA Cup, and those 5 changes, 5 starters: Andre Dimitru, Patrick McDonald, Mark Fisher, Micah Chisholm, and a new goalkeeper, Shafiq Wilson, will be in goal for Toronto for the first time this season, the former U of Albany Great Dane. Now we take a look at the starting 11 for Carolina Core, and first-year head coach Donovan Ricketts sends out a 5-4-1, 3 changes after their loss at the hands of Chattanooga. Zion Scarlett, Aurier Miller, and Glory Nziengo will all be in the starting 11 for the Core. And although they lost by a large margin to Chattanooga, they had a 5-0 victory the match before, so they're hoping that the scoring ways can come back against a team in Toronto that does not give up a lot of goals. They did have a falter at the hands of New England, giving up the 4, but outside of that, they've given up just 1 goal this season, and that was in the loss to Chicago. So this matchup is going to be interesting for a lot of reasons because of how Carolina Core likes to defend. They like to make things difficult on their opponents, and they don't want to be easily broken down. Toronto is a team that can sit back and can defend for large stretches and beat you on the counterattack. And so the first 15 minutes of this match are going to be important to see which team can impart their vision onto the other. And Toronto is just happy to be home. They played on the road for their first 4 matches and now are back at the comfy confines of York Lions Stadium here in Toronto. The Young Reds in their red kits and Carolina Core in their road white kits. Our head referee is Fabricio Stasola. Takes a peek around, blows his whistle, and we begin. Carolina Core taking on Toronto FC2. Thank you so much for tuning in on MLSNextPro.com. James Hadnot here with you. This is Juarez quickly down the line. Nziengo looking for a teammate in the box. Nothing there initially. And Alenga Charles being pushed off the ball by Daquan Barrow. Toronto trying to take advantage of the miscue in the midfield, and now they'll have their first chance in possession. Coach Cimini sharing with me this week that he wants his team to grow in their offensive capabilities. He wants them to be multi-dimensional. They have the ability to play direct, have some quick players down either flank. But the next phase of their growth offensively as a young team is to play through the lines. How can they connect 3-4 passes and really put some pressure on a defense? Ball comes out for a throw. Italo. This ball is chested down. Ziengo locates Jathan Juarez. Now to the captain, Jacob Evans. Playing with the Houston Dynamo. Mostly with Dynamo Dos before coming over to Carolina Court last year in their inaugural year of competition. It was a troublesome start to 2024. Just one win in their first 11 matches, but found something late, gave themselves an opportunity on decision day to make the playoffs, but fall to Inter Miami 2. Now, this is Nathaniel Edwards. He's one of those players with pace. And his shot is right at the goalkeeper, Alex Sutton. As Edwards continues into open field, Pachi doesn't come in to close him down until late. Edwards had already made the decision to shoot. It was easily handled by Sutton. That is what Toronto wants to do, wants to force a turnover and then take advantage of players like Nathaniel Edwards, who has one of the 2 goals on the season for Toronto. Edwards, who signed with the first team in September of last year through 2025. Played his collegiate soccer at Syracuse. Chisholm making his first start. A little tap to Ayari, leading returning goal scorer from last year. Sullivan into Edwards. This ball is cleared away by Carolina Court. Chisholm to trigger it from the touchline. Barrow controls for the moment. Ayari returns to Barrow. And Ayari will track back. Fisher is pushed. And so a foul will be given. And Toronto will keep possession. Edwards tries to get on his horse on the half turn. Ball took a touch from Juan Pablo Rodriguez. So Toronto will have a throw as they work their way into the final third. Donald couldn't handle, and the ball's taken away. Indiengo, a nice turn. And Chisholm clears it away all the way back to the goalkeeper, Wilson. Now Italo into the path of Dimitru. Ayari cutting inside. Edwards. Ball pops back out to him as Dimitru was the intended target. Sullivan. Edwards shoved by Rodriguez. Carolina Core is an aggressive team. They're not going to give an inch. Toronto can take advantage of that aggressiveness with the pace in the wide areas. Sutton clears his lines. First ball won by Italo. Second one won by Glory Nziengo, and he goes down. He's back up, walking a bit gingerly. Has to jump back into action as the ball comes to him from Evans. You can see Nziengo working on his right foot, that right shin guard. As he trots back into the midfield, looks to be okay. Juarez slips it forward. Nziengo looks ready to play now. He is dashed off the ball. Not a clean clearance, and Carolina Core back in possession. Rodriguez. Canetti led this team in goals last year. Juarez isolated on Chisholm. Juarez towards the byline, cuts it across, and Nathaniel Edwards is there to head it away. The Core putting some pressure on Toronto, who at times tends to defend for long stretches. This is their MO, get numbers behind the ball and be compact. They forced Inter Miami 2, a team that does not have trouble scoring, into a .14 expected goals average in the last match. That's what helped them win 1-0 in a tight matchup. Juarez dashes outside. Tries to draw the ball across, but no power behind it. And Italo out of play for a throw-in. Canetti is the maestro. Not only did he have 11 goals last year, he also had 7 assists. Juarez working forward. Italo is there. Nziengo wins it back, however. Now the first real chance for Carolina Core. This portion of the match is brought to you by BMO, proud sponsor and fan of Toronto FC 2. 11th minute of action, first corner of the day for either side. It goes to the visitors, Carolina Core. Jacob Evans plays it short. Nziengo, now Canetti on the ground, and just a miss hit. A real opportunity there for David Pachi Polanco. Now Chica into Polanco. As far as Evans, and his cutback ball is dealt with by Chisholm. But another corner upcoming for Carolina Core. Another short corner. This comes back to Evans. Nziengo into the box. This shot is dealt with by Polanco. Edwards off the back heel. Play on his decision. And Toronto now back on the ball. So 2 opportunities for David Polanco. Neither really troubling the goalkeeper, Wilson. Almost a bad giveaway. Polanco gives it right back to Toronto, and Barrow, who works back to his center back, Stojanovic. Toronto does have just 2 goals on the season. One came in the opener, a win over Cincinnati, and the last coming in the last match, a 1-0 victory over Inter Miami. So the media opportunity with Toronto was full of questions about offense and ability, and Coach Cimini was very confident in his side. He said, "We talking a lot about defense right now, but in the weeks to come, you'll see how impressive this team can be offensively." There are plenty of players who can make an offensive impact. This ball comes into Barrow as lines are broken through the midfield. Hassan Ayari with it now. Ayari, ball comes in, and Daniel Chica clears it away. Nice move by Dimitru. His ball is airmailed over everyone and out for a goal kick. Offensive philosophy for Carolina Core is simple. How can we keep possession and break teams down? Coach Donovan Ricketts sharing with me that his goal is to teach in a different way and to give his team the ideas necessary to answer any questions that are being asked by a defense, any problems that might persist. Give his team the tools on how to handle things. We've seen high scoring matches from Carolina Core, even going back to last season. Toronto looking to go route one. This is a goal kick. And when asked if the way that the game was seen was different from a goalkeeper in comparison to a player in the field, Coach Ricketts said, "I get that question often, and no, we see the game similarly." He wants to see the ball going forward towards the other team's goal, and that's what any infield player would think as well. So now Miller still with it. And Italo is there. Ball's out for a throw. We played a quarter of an hour. No score between Carolina Core and Toronto. First home match of the season for Toronto. Polanco goes down in a heap. Toronto trying to connect a couple of passes, but they cannot. As Zion Scarlett was chasing that down, he'll send it back into play. Dimitru had his hands all over Nziengo. Andre Dimitru, Canadian Youth International, played with the U17s and the U20s, 12 caps at the international level. Great profile for an 18-year-old. Sullivan, Edwards can't connect. Now Evans loses it to Nathaniel Edwards. Ball right back to Malenga Charles. Juan Pablo Rodriguez over the top. It'll bounce and Wilson will collect. Mentioned that multiple players are down in Bradenton, Florida for Toronto at the GA Cup. Boulder side making it into the championship bracket, falling in their opening match. There's a lot of young talent throughout this Toronto organization. Michael Sullivan down the line. Daquan Barrow attacking Chica, and Barrow sends the shot over the crossbar. This is the action that Coach Cimini wants to see from his side. How can his forward players surf the lines and really make things difficult on the back line of Carolina court? Evans for Carolina court, dumps one out wide to Juarez, but he cannot handle the pass. But now pressure being put on by Carolina court. Sullivan so calm, right to Barrow. Daquan Barrow isolated against Miller. That's what you like to see from your captain. And I asked Coach Cimini about Michael Sullivan and his transition from Division I soccer to the professional ranks. He said that it's been seamless. The pace of the game has not affected him, and he's been wonderful. Now Dimitru could not connect with Edwards. Finishing the point on Sullivan. Coach Cimini had high praise for the Pittsburgh Panther program, how they prepare players to be pros, and Sullivan said the same of his coaches at Pitt, how they really put him in a position to be ready for this moment. And Sullivan has thrived, scoring the game-winning goal versus Inter Miami last time out. Said that the goal was one of his favorites, not just because it was his first professional goal, but because, of course, players like Messi playing at Chase Stadium the night before, being on the same field as a legend. And that's what Sullivan has liked most about playing professionally. This ball comes to Ayari. Pops out to Edwards. And Edwards over everyone as Barrow was barreling in towards the back post. Edwards trying to thread the needle over the top of Sutton. This portion of the match is brought to you by LG, proud sponsor and fan of Toronto FC2. 22nd minute of action, no score between Toronto and Carolina court. A little pressure being put on, and Carolina is dispossessed. Ayari into Dimitru. Now Sullivan sends to Stojadinovic. Carolina Core has handled the pressure pretty well up to this point. That's the thing about pressure. You have to be on your P's and Q's. Anytime you shut off, that's when your opponent will pounce. Evans into Nziengo, and now Canetti towards Juarez, but too heavy of a touch, and Wilson was right there. Shafiq Wilson making his debut, signed with TFC2 last year, coming out of the University of Albany, made 31 appearances there. This ball is lost, and a kick save by Wilson. Now Charles, and Italo stands in front of that shot. So a glorious opportunity for Carolina Core is stifled by Wilson. And Canetti has to think to himself, how does he not score? But quick reaction from Shafiq Wilson. Italo. Dimitru. Stojadinovic into Barrow. Now McDonald. As Toronto starting to connect some passes now. Micah Chisholm into Ayari, who will cut inside. Stojadinovic out to Ayari. Ayari towards the byline. And Juarez sliding in to stop the attack, but a corner upcoming for Toronto, their first on the evening. That's just good work from Toronto right there. Connecting passes, players picking up space, forcing Carolina Core to move around and accurately mark their man. Fabricio Stasola having a conversation with Daquan Barrow and Daniel Chica. As time ticks towards the 27th minute, almost ready for play. Hassan Ayari takes the corner towards the back post, and Sutton easily snags this just outside his 6-yard box. Alex Sutton, the New York native, turned 24. In May of last year, the former Lafayette College Leopard played with the Maryland Bobcats in the NISA before playing with Carolina Core. Glory, Nziengo inside the box, cuts it back, and what a wonderful slide by Mark Fisher to stop the shot of Polanco. Sullivan loses possession to Canetti. Now Evans turning into Glory Nziengo. ball towards Juarez. But Shafiq Wilson puts his body on the line and is there for it. You see Nziengo just waiting, trying to thread the needle, and a late boot to the head of Wilson. He wasn't happy about it. Stojadinovic into Barrow, and Barrow just too much in that, trying to keep possession, throwing the defender. Something else Coach Cimini shared with us this week was he wants his team to defend to score, meaning that although they will be defending for large stretches of time, how can they create opportunities off their defensive action? Nziengo closed down by 2. He cannot cut the ball back. Chisholm can't connect the first pass, and that's the opposite of what Coach Cimini wants to see. If they can connect passes 1 and 2, passes 3 and 4 will no doubt turn into an offensive opportunity. So as you watch Toronto for the remainder of this match and how they defend, what does the counter look like after they've connected that second and third pass? This ball will roll out of play. McDonald loses possession right to Canetti, and Carolina Core once again on the ball. The Core have dominated possession in this match. Canetti, Nziengo, Glory Nziengo. Wow! Oh! Glory Nziengo with the goal, and that breaks the deadlock. Carolina Core up 1-0. As this ball comes into Nziengo, space and opportunity, and he just dumps it right over the goalkeeper. And that is an early favorite for goal of the week in MLS Next Pro. Toronto finds itself down by a goal. How do they respond? Chisholm, Ayari, now Sullivan, the captain, dumping it over to Ayari. Hassan Ayari cuts it across, and Barrow off the post, but guess who's there? Patrick McDonald. And an immediate response for Toronto. Ayari sends this ball right back across. Barrow couldn't finish, but Patrick McDonald, Johnny on the spot to score. And just moments after giving up the goal, Toronto finds itself back on level terms. McDonald, the 59th overall pick in the 2024 draft out of Indiana. And how many players has Indiana put into the professional ranks? Just another Hoosier handling business. We're all square at one apiece. Nice slide by Barrow. Edwards has his shot blocked by Daniel Chica. Now Scarlett into Canetti. Nobody there to pounce on that mistake. Charles just let it roll past. Nice touch by Scarlett. Scarlett still with it. And a point to the spot. Or a handball outside. Just on the edge. And so it will be just on the edge of the box. And a free kick upcoming for Carolina Core. As close as you could be without being a penalty, but Toronto is happy that the infraction came on the edge of the box. Five in the wall and a player laying down. Patrick McDonald is also to the left of the wall. In the 36th minute, Jacob Evans strikes, punched away. Canetti's second attempt is handled. Charles slips to Juarez, and Micah Chisholm deals with it. So Toronto deals with the danger for the time being. It broke through the wall, but Shafiq Wilson was there. This portion of the match is brought to you by Chevrolet, proud sponsor and fan of Toronto FC2. Well, this match has some juice now. After Carolina Core took the lead, Glory Nziengo scoring his second goal of the season. Toronto had an immediate response. Daquan Barrow shot hit the post, but Patrick McDonald was there to tap it in on the follow. And we are level at 1-1. Nziengo R.E.A. Miller. Evans, a nice touch. He'll keep possession. Polanco for Canetti, but the ball hopped up on Facundo Canetti. He could not notch a clean strike. Ayari fighting with Juarez, and Juarez wins the battle. Carolina in possession. Juan Pablo Rodriguez into Zion Scarlett. Carolina core as a team has not had any trouble scoring this season. So although they have conceded, given up the lead, firmly believe they can find another. Toronto, however, had just 2 goals coming into today. So if they were to score a second, it would match their season total coming into the contest. But as mentioned earlier, Coach Cimini believes in the offensive side of the ball for his side. And says that they're just a volcano ready to erupt. Miller sees Ayari tap that out of play, but a throw-in coming deep in their defensive third for Carolina. See how calmly Carolina core played out of that pressure. Now Juarez loses possession to Barrow, and Toronto wins it back. 40th minute of action, 1 apiece. Lindsay Ingo, the goal scorer for Carolina core. Patrick McDonald making his first start of the season with the goal for Toronto. Stojadinovic. McDonald out wide to Mark Fisher. Into Daquan Barrow. Nice switch to the point of attack. Chisholm. Back into Stojadinovic. Ayari holds up play. Sullivan. All the way over to Chisholm. Now Sullivan. Another dump off. And Sutton was quick to this one. Did not want to make the same mistake twice. Sutton sends the ball away. First to it was Stojadinovic. his header sent the ball out. So a throw-in coming for Carolina Court as we wind towards the 45th minute of action. At halftime, we will have a feature. Diego Garcia of North Texas SC. He'll sit down with our April Marie Aguilar. Also have our goal of the week. Mentioned that Glory Nziengo might be the man with that goal of the week of match day 6. As we see Chisholm, those studs down right on R.E.A. Miller. Not intentional as both were going for the ball, but that does not feel nice if you're Miller. R.E.A. Miller, the Liberian Youth International, capped with the U17s. Space opening up for Carolina. Toronto, beg your pardon. Now Stojadinovic. Edwards, nice idea to chest back to Daquan Barrow. Sullivan. Can't keep possession. On the counter, press. Toronto wins it back. Dimitru. This is into Pachi. Evans, a little bit of a heavy touch, but it doesn't do him in as he ends back up with the ball. Scarlett trying to outduel and does keep the ball in. So working against Mark Fisher. His toe tap kept the ball on the byline. But Wilson came to collect. The fourth official announcing a minimum of 1 minute of added time in the first half. Toronto trying to change the scoreline before the halftime whistle. Edwards. Stojadinovic. Big switch coming to Dimitru. Andre Dimitru. Sullivan. Chisholm. His cross only as far as McDonald. It took a deflection. Shouts for handball from Toronto. You be the judge. It looked like Juan Pablo Rodriguez had his arm attached to his body, so although it hit his hand, it didn't seem like he was in a position of trying to stop it with his hand, or an illegal guarding position. So Toronto with what might be the final kick of the first half. We played our minimum of 1 minute. Corner comes in. It's still free. Barrow can't get to it. As Sutton took the worst of that. Might have got a chop right to the chest as he put his body on the line. And Sutton still down. Halftime whistle has been blown. And we go to the break level at 1 apiece. So let's look back at MLS Next Pro goal of the week. New York Red Bulls to midfielder Ibrahim Kasule is this week's winner. Following a corner kick, the Uganda international controlled the ball with his chest and then fired a big-time shot, extending his side's lead to 3-1 on the way to a 3-2 victory Red Bulls 2 sit atop the Northeast Division standings with 10 points at this early stage of the season. And Kasule, who was a part of the best 11 2 seasons ago, is one of the best in MLS Next Pro, and he continues to showcase his talents. Now it's time for a player feature. Our April Marie Aguilar sat down recently with North Texas's Diego Garcia in his native tongue.
Hola y muchas gracias por acompañarnos hoy. Mi nombre es April Marie Aguilar y este es el nuevo episodio de Player Profile y hoy tengo el gran placer de poder platicar con Diego García. Hola Diego.
Mucho gusto, mucho gusto.
¿Cómo estás hoy?
Bien, bien, ¿y usted?
Muy bien, gracias a Dios. Oye, pues ya han pasado algunos meses de que lograron el gran reto de ser nombrados como campeones, ¿verdad? Ahora, ¿cómo se sienten poder saber que ahora tienen ustedes la oportunidad de poder ser el primer equipo en lograrlo por segunda vez?
No, pues es un sueño que haber quedado campeón el año pasado y pues este año vamos a seguir con la misma mentalidad de poder lograr otra vez el logro y ser el primer equipo con el doble campeonato, así que vamos a ir, no importa lo que pase, vamos a luchar por todo, así que es un buen reto que tenemos este año.
MLS Next Pro es un camino a los pros y tú eres un ejemplo claro de eso. Pasaste por firmar con FC Dallas hace menos de 2 años a formar parte del primer equipo. ¿Cómo ha sido este camino para ti?
Ha sido un salto pues en mi vida muy grande, o sea, todo me pasó así rápido, no me lo esperaba y pues era como de pues seguir, pues siempre fue mi sueño de llegar a un equipo así de primera, pero primero tuve que pasar por Norte Texas, que me brindó la oportunidad de estar con ellos y pues gracias a esos 2 años buenos que tuve, se me dio la oportunidad de haber estado firmado con el primer equipo.
Y de hecho tú empezaste tu carrera en otra academia. En aquel tiempo, ¿cómo imaginabas que se iba a desarrollar tu carrera?
La verdad, nunca me imaginé pues venir acá, o sea, fue como nomás una noticia que me dieron así rápido y yo tenía que tomar la decisión en 2 días o 1 día.
Sí.
Y nunca me esperaba el salir de donde yo era a venir acá a una pues, ciudad diferente, sin mi familia ni nada. Era un gran salto para mí.
Y también, de hecho, tuviste la oportunidad de firmar con FC Dallas a los 16 años. Y en ese tiempo, el gerente general Matt Denny dijo, aquí hay un dicho, el que es lo suficientemente bueno es lo suficientemente mayor. ¿Qué ha significado eso para ti?
Digo que pues la edad no importa, o sea, es como más bien las ganas que tienes para querer jugar y demostrar de lo que eres capaz. O sea, digo que nomás un número la edad y no importa si tienes 15, 14 años, mientras demuestres en el campo y las ganas de querer jugar es todo lo que necesitas.
Y también has tenido la oportunidad de ser parte del equipo juvenil nacional de los Estados Unidos en varias ocasiones. De hecho, más recientemente en noviembre del año pasado. ¿Cómo sientes que esas experiencias, sientes que te dan más confianza ya cuando regresas a jugar junto a North Texas SC?
Sí, pues además es un gran logro el pues, estar en el National Team, porque pues no es como que no es como que todos vayan allá y pues sí me da una confianza y pues aprendo de ir allá y pues lo intento como a enseñarles a mis compañeros como cosas que aprendí allá y pues así como nos ayudamos, pero sí me da un poco más de confianza el ir al National Team y regresar acá a mi equipo.
Bueno, y para finalizar, ¿tienes algunas metas personales que te encantaría lograr durante esta temporada, ya sea dentro o fuera del campo?
Obviamente pues ir back to back en el campeonato y pues con el primer equipo también sumar minutos y pues fuera del fútbol pues hacer más orgullosa a mi familia y pues que se sientan mucho más felices de lo que ya están. De lo que ya están.
Bueno, Diego, muchas gracias. Te deseo toda la suerte esta temporada. I'm gonna be rooting for you.
Muchas gracias.
Gracias.
You can't the vibe.
Action!
Por todo, así que
Highlights and stats are coming up later in halftime, but first let's visit with another player. This time we visit with St. Louis City 2's Asiel Orozco.
Muchas gracias por acompañarnos hoy en otro episodio de Player Profile. Hoy tengo el gran placer de poder platicar con Asiel Orozco de St. Louis City 2. ¿Qué tal, Asiel? ¿Cómo estás hoy?
Hola, todo bien, gracias a Dios.
Qué bueno, me da mucho gusto. Bueno, pues con tan solo 20 años lo que has podido lograr en tu carrera es bastante impresionante. Eres joven, pero con una gran experiencia en MLS NEXT Pro, MLS, Liga MX e incluso el fútbol de Irlanda del Norte. Cuando miras hacia atrás y te pones a reflexionar sobre tu carrera hasta ahora, ¿cómo escribirías la lucha por alcanzar tu sueño?
La verdad ha sido algo muy hermoso. Ha sido muchas cosas que no me esperaba vivir. Conversaciones que tengo con mi familia que siempre me dijeron van a ser batallas, luchas, pero experiencias muy bonitas que nunca las tienes que nomás despreciar o mirar como tal vez cosas negativas que piensas que no valen, pero todo vale. Yo sé que todo vale. Gracias a Dios ha sido todo excelente y siempre lo disfrutaré al máximo.
Y tu papá, Jorge Orozco, también jugó al nivel profesional en la Liga MX. ¿Qué has aprendido de él? ¿Te ha dado algún consejo que has podido aplicar tanto en tu carrera como en tu vida personal?
Sí, para todas las cosas en sí es siempre trabajar, seguir trabajando a pesar de las cosas como sucedan, cuando se dan bien, cuando se dan mal, es siempre el jugador de fútbol tiene algo que aprender. Hasta en las cosas personales, cómo gastar mi tiempo fuera de la cancha, cómo estar en cuidar mi cuerpo a la nutrición, a lo mental, a leer un libro, cosas así para la mente, para estar bien en todas las facetas de la persona y del jugador de fútbol, pero sí, desde chiquito. Y hasta ahora mismo que me vienen a jugar a veces, siempre está mándame los entrenamientos, los juegos, para regañarme y no tanto para aplaudirme, pero siempre de los errores aprende, ¿no? Es algo que me encanta de él, que sigue empujándome para hacer mejor y no tanto para relajarme y le debo mucho a él. Desde chiquito ha sido mi entrenador. Cuando salí de ese club fue algo difícil porque él era mi única cara de entrenador. Muy duro, la verdad, muy duro. Mi mamá, mi familia sabe de esto, pero mirando para atrás se ve que fue algo para ser un jugador diferente y en pocas palabras para sobresalir en mi carácter y la verdad nada, se lo debo todo a él.
¿Y cómo crees que tu experiencia internacional te ha dado una ventaja cuando vienes a competir aquí en los Estados Unidos?
Al principio fue difícil, no sabía tomar ese paso, ¿no? Pero hablando con gente del club de que estuve antes, cosas que me convencieron. El año que estuve ahí, los juegos, los partidos, me tocó, gracias a Dios, ser campeón allá por primera vez. Ves muchas características del fútbol diferentes, como te decía, las culturas que es diferentes, todo lo que viene para un jugador de fútbol, tal vez mucha gente no lo ve, pero es muy importante, porque para jugar bien tiene que sentir un poquito cómodo para sobresalir y dar tu mejor forma en los partidos y en los entrenamientos, pero eso la verdad me hizo muy fuerte. La gente del club Larn FC que estuvo allá se portaron muy bien conmigo, me dieron todo para sobresalir y ser un jugador que triunfe y un jugador importante en el club, y se jugó muy bien, el equipo muy bien y aprendí de muchos jugadores de experiencia que la verdad unos cracks y gracias a Dios me ha ayudado mucho.
Firmaste con St. Louis a comienzo de año. ¿Qué esperas poder aportar al equipo, tanto como atleta como en lo personal?
Sí, hablando con Critch siempre fue seguir mejorando como jugador. La trayectoria que tuvieron el año pasado de estar un poquito cortos del campeonato, y esa es la meta para nosotros. Ganar para todos, yo creo que cada equipo quiere hacerlo, pero creo que nosotros con el cuadro que tenemos, con el staff que tenemos, con las personas en el club que tenemos, todo juega en uno, y esa es nuestra meta. Y como individual es ser alguien, un líder en el equipo, alguien que los compañeros se sientan a gusto para hablar, tener una conversación, y ser alguien que siga aprendiendo de cada uno, y que espero que ellos puedan aprender algo de mí también.
Y bueno, este equipo llegó hasta la final de la Conferencia del Oeste el año pasado, con la mayoría del equipo regresando esta temporada. En ese caso, ¿qué podemos esperar de ustedes?
Sé que tienen ese sabor de revancha, de querer llegar y decir, oye, quedamos cortos, pero esta temporada queremos aún más. Si podemos llegar acá este año, podemos llegar aún más lejos. Entonces es aprender de lo que pasó el año pasado y mejorarlo, y en esta temporada hacer las cosas correctas y llegar a la final. Y falta mucho, claro, falta mucho, es demasiado, pero es paso a paso para ser el equipo triunfador.
Bueno, Jaciel, muchas gracias por tu tiempo y te deseo toda la suerte esta temporada.
Muchas gracias. Gracias.
Action!
Welcome back to York Lions Stadium in Toronto, Ontario. We're tied at 1 apiece between Toronto FC2 and Carolina Core. Let's show you how we got there. For the first 20 minutes or so of this match, it was pretty calm. Nathaniel Edwards had this opportunity, but it was from distance, and it was easily handled by Alex Sutton. Then surfing the line was Daquan Barrow, attacking Daniel Chica. Barrow got onto his right foot, but he could not keep this on frame. Off this mistake, he thought this might be the first goal for Carolina Core, but Shafiq Wilson answered the call. And now Nzingo was there. He cut it back for Polanco. He could not finish. So there were a lot of opportunities after that first 20 minutes as Juarez could not finish. Canetti into Nzingo, and he decided to have a go, and this just dumped right over Shafiq Wilson for the go-ahead goal. But an immediate response from Hassan Ayari and Toronto as Patrick McDonald ended up with the score off the post. Jacob Evans could not add to the scoreline for Carolina Core. We take a look at our halftime stats. Pretty even, as it's even on the scoreboard. 7 shots for Carolina Core, 6 for Toronto. Possession was more in favor of Carolina Core, but as the match kind of wore on, Toronto started to find his footing. And we'll see if Toronto will have more possession in the second half. A slew of matchups upcoming. Whitecaps and Austin will get going on tomorrow. Chattanooga and Crown Legacy will face off. New York, who is at the top of the Eastern Conference right now, will take on the reigning Eastern Conference regular season champions, FC Cincinnati. And North Texas FC, the reigning champions, will battle with Colorado on Sunday. And then some midweek matches. which will be fun to watch as well. As Ventura County take on the Timbers upcoming on Wednesday. So as the teams return to the field, want to note, of course, that Toronto is looking for what would be its 4th goal on the season. If they were to score again, coming into this match, they scored only in their opener and in their last match. For Carolina Core, they have not had trouble scoring. They have scored in every match this season. They have multiple goals in the match versus New York City FC that win 5-0 over NYCFC. Toronto at home for the first time this season, trying to notch their first home win of the season and make it back-to-back W's. Carolina Core coming off their loss to Chattanooga, trying to make it 2 wins in their last 3 matches. We talked about the rough start for Carolina Core last season, trying not to have the same things happen in 2025. Jayton Juarez was very honest about how last season's struggles at the beginning impacted their ability to make the playoffs late. Fabricio Sassola blows his whistle, and we begin the second half between Carolina Core and Toronto FC2. James Hadnot here with you. Toronto in their red kits, Carolina Core in their road whites. And Zingo receives it back from Juarez, the goal scorer, trying to play provider, and it's chested out by Italo, but an early corner for Carolina Core. Mentioned how they dominated possessions, 53% to 47 in the first half. Also dominated quarters and set pieces. Evans plays it short to Canetti. Now Nzingo cuts onto his right. This is a long effort. And it took a deflection and is out for another corner. So Nzingo, who has already shown that he has no trouble taking shots from distance, his first goal was from about 26 yards out over the top of the goalkeeper. That one would have been a more miraculous effort, as it had a lot of traffic to navigate through. Carolina Core has played most of their corners short, and they look like they're going to do so again. Or maybe not. Evans into the mixer. Down and still free. Eventually, Wilson pounces on it. No changes for either side at the halftime break. So still starters on for Toronto and Carolina Core. Andre Dumitru, the Canadian Youth International, back to Stojanovic. Stojanovic back on the ball. Italo. It's out for a throw-in. These two teams met one time last year. Carolina Core fell to Toronto. It was a 2-1 victory for the Young Reds. Edwards is upended, but that's a clean challenge from Alenga Charles. Canetti turns it over to Stojadinovic. Play on is the decision. Barrow with Edwards off his right shoulder. Barrow decides to shoot for himself, and it scoots out. So off this turnover, Stojadinovic right into Daquan Barrow. Had reinforcements off his right side, but decided to go for glory himself. And it's just off that inside post. We'll have to see what the adjustment is for Toronto, or if there is an adjustment at all. Canetti swiveling forward, still with it. Then turns it over to Nathaniel Edwards. And Toronto connect a couple of passes out of their defense of effort. Alenga Charles locates Jathan Juarez. Taps towards Evans. Juarez on the touchline. Has it taken off his boot by Hassan Ayari. Coach Chamini talking very highly about Ayari's defensive efforts. Has the ability to play the number 9, but because of his defensive prowess, hasn't really been able to show his scoring ability this season. And one of the things that the coaching staff has discussed coming into this match was how can they tilt the match in favor of Ayari, really putting him in more positions to take advantage of his talent. We already saw it today on the goal that was scored. As Sullivan sent the ball over the top, Ayari cut the ball back across, and it ended up being a goal as McDonald handed it off the carom from the post. But that's more of what Toronto wants to see from Ayari and the offense. Can they get Ayari isolated with a center back or with a left back and really start to attack? Stojadinovic clipping Zion Scarlett. That's a foul. So here in the second half, watch for Toronto to try to isolate Ayari, Edwards. Ayari down the left flank, Edwards down the right flank. Really take advantage of their athleticism. Fisher, the Italo. Fisher. Second season with the Young Reds. Played prior at Stanford. Made more than 60 appearances for the Cardinal. And was the captain his senior season. He and Michael Sullivan are captains of this team. Sullivan wears the armband, but Fisher has a similar role in training as well as on the pitch as a vocal leader. Fisher, nice little ball into McDonald, but the second ball out of the reach of Nathaniel Edwards. Ball is lost, but won back by Evans. Now Pachi pushes it out wide to Juarez. Evans can't swerve around Michael Sullivan. Now Toronto on the hunt. Long ball to Ayari. He'll keep it in on the touchline. Into Sullivan. One touch passing by Toronto, but they can't finish it off. Finding Barrow. Sullivan putting pressure on Sutton. Almost a mistake. We saw versus Charlotte Independence, a mistake made by a goalkeeper that turned into the first goal in the Open Cup. Almost something similar there. And just instinctive and intellectually sound by Canetti there. After there was pressure being put on, a lot happening. Feeling the contact going down and just giving Carolina Core a chance to reset and catch their breath after a nervy moment. Juarez goes into another gear as he attacks the back line. Evans' touch. Evans still with it. And a kick save by Shafiq Wilson. So Wilson in his debut, although he's given up the goal, has made a couple of excellent saves where Carolina Core could have a couple more goals. Now Jathan Juarez is down. Juarez was racing forward, had Evans, whose touch took him around Fisher, but you see Wilson stayed on his feet for as long as he could before getting his leg out to kick that ball away. Now all eyes are on Jathan Juarez. Played 2 years with Houston Dynamo Dos, made 45 appearances, 31 starts. He's a former Houston Dynamo Academy member. He will have to come off the field. David Pachi Polanco trying to get as close as he can after this drop ball. And play resumes. Juarez will have to wait to return to the field of play. Ball lost to Zion Scarlett. Canetti returns the favor to Scarlett. And Stojadinovic with the tackle. Scarlett ends up on the pitch. And a free kick is upcoming for Carolina Core. Stojadinovic is arguing that he got the ball. And while he might have gotten a piece of the ball, he did bring down Scarlett. Jacob Evans ready to take this free kick in the 58th minute. Evans whips the ball in. Headed away by Daquan Barrow. Chisholm into Ayari. And a chance maybe to break for Toronto. Ayari reverses field and will keep possession rather than turn things over. And a smart decision for Ayari as the numbers weren't there. Toronto has a chance to possess the ball for a bit. The captain, Michael Sullivan, has been quiet today. Sullivan to Fisher. To Stojadinovic. Ayari isolated against Miller. Hassan Ayari cuts in. Now Dimitri returns to Ayari. Ayari was held up. Could not get any power behind that shot, but a corner upcoming for Toronto. So you see the wiggle that Hassan Ayari has, and then continues his run. A very intellectually sound move, and earns his team a corner. Ayari stands behind this corner as we have ventured into the 60th minute of action. Level at 1 apiece. Ball sent into the box. Headed away by Scarlett, only as far as Stojadinovic. Receives it from Edwards. Stojadinovic to Italo. And Toronto will just keep possession. This portion of the match is brought to you by BMO, proud sponsor and fan of Toronto FC2. No goals here in the second half. Goal scored in the first half by Glory and Zingo, and by Patrick McDonald of Toronto. Polanco can't keep possession. It's down to Sullivan. Sullivan, excellent ball out wide to Ayari. Ayari against Juarez. Has a shot that takes a ricochet. Barrow could not control it. Scarlett being held up. And now it's cleared away by Juan Pablo Rodriguez. Into Polanco. He barrels the ball forward. Evans hoping to end up with it. He does. Charles. Chica. Rodriguez. Play switches back to Juarez. Slip towards Evans. Nice touch into the box. Evans is held up. Did not go to ground. And then there's a foul. Italo looks to be down on the touchline. Jacob Evans, the captain, approaching the head referee just to stake his claim. So Italo is back up. Play will resume. Second half has gone very similar to the first. Throughout the first 15 to 20 minutes of the first half, it was rather quiet. Minimal shots as both teams are feeling each other out. And then in the final half of that first half is when we saw our goals. For the second half of a similar tenor. Italo breaks two lines with that pass, and Barrow turns it over. Polanco gives the ball back to Edwards. Now Toronto trying to attack. McDonald. Fisher. Sullivan assessing into Dimitri. Drops off for Ayari. Daquan Barrow could not navigate that shot towards goal. But that's what Coach Cimini wants to see. Cimini wants to see. Off a turnover, connecting passes, and then turning into an offensive opportunity. And although Barrow could not put the finishing touches on the attack, that's good work by Toronto. This ball siphoned down the line to Evans. Polanco keeps possession. Now to the maestro Canetti. Canetti has been quiet in this match, although he usually pulls the strings. And Zingo has not been quiet, had a very loud opening goal. But the ball went back to Toronto. Edwards trying a turn. Sullivan with an excellent slide tackle. Now McDonald looking for options. Italo. Wonderful ball to Ayari. Once again, right where he wants. The defense retreating. Dimitru over everyone and out. Barrow can't control. Carolina Coral on the ball. Polanco flips the ball towards Scarlett. Scarlett after the step over. And he cannot plan across. Edwards was with him step for step. Zion Scarlett is no stranger to MLS Next Pro, played with Columbus Crew 2. A former Jamaican youth international. He made 4 caps with the Reggae Boys. Chisholm has eyes for Ayari, and Chica handles that. But a throw-in coming for Toronto. Dimitru trying to return the favor, but cannot connect with Ayari. And our first substitutions of the match upcoming. Yakeson Suba will come on for David Pachi Polanco. And Paul Leonardi will come on for Zion Scarlett. So Leonardi, who started his career with Monaco at the U19 level, played in the French second division last year, making 10 starts, 11 appearances overall. Yakeson Suba signed with Real Monarchs out of the RSL Academy and played in 2023 with LAFC 2 before coming to Carolina Core last season. Fresh legs on the pitch now. Suba, a goal-scoring threat. Leonardi play down the right side. This ball's into Nzingo. His shot is saved. Dimitru for Toronto into Ayari. Italo takes the ball towards midfield. Now will have to retreat back to his defensive position. Leonardi works back to R.E.A. Miller, Iberian Youth International. Now Charles towards Juan Pablo Rodriguez. Now this ball is turned over, and it could be trouble. Stojadinovic. Not enough behind it as he was looking for Nathaniel Edwards. And Carolina Core now trying to take advantage of the mistake. Leonardi. His back heel means that Italo has to take hold of possession. And now the match opening up as we're starting to go end to end. And this plays in favor of this man, Nathaniel Edwards, who has wheels. Early ball looking for Barrow. But Daquan Barrow could not control as he entered into the box. As the match opens up, both Carolina Core and Toronto will look to run. We saw the first two substitutions from Carolina Core. Only 5 available substitutes for Toronto today, so they have a short bench. Juarez, Charles, now Leonardi whips this ball towards goal, and it's in the arms of Shafiq Wilson. This portion of the match is brought to you by Ritz, proud sponsor and fan of Toronto FC2. 71st minute of action. 1-1 between Toronto and Carolina Core. Glory Nzingo with the opener for Carolina Core, and Patrick McDonald with the answer. Another cross comes in. Italo deals with it. There's a foul by R.E.A. Miller. Chisholm. Michael Chisholm, one of 5 players making their first starts of the season. Edwards holding up play. And he'll earn a corner. Excuse me, he'll earn a throw in. Ball will pop all the way out to Italo. Toronto comfortable in possession. Ball played over the top. Chica with the header. Canetti. Evans, nice touch around. And Carolina Core is full throttle right now. Nzingo. Juarez. Evans turns it over. Ball won right back by Glory Nzingo. He's shown his technical ability today. Wanted the ball right back from Yakesin Suba, but the two could not combine. That's one thing that Toronto is going to have to be careful of. Florian Zingo already has 1 goal on the day, 2 goals on the season. And if he is left to his own devices, he can put some pressure on TFC. McDonald will score for Toronto. Pushed off the ball by Nzingo. Now McDonald starts his trek forward. Barrow hounded by Daniel Chica. Toronto will start once again. Sullivan still with it. Edwards. Barrow back to Sullivan. Sullivan just sticking with it. Just see how comfortable Michael Sullivan is on the ball.
Let's go, Mama. Come on, let's go.
It's a nice spell of possession right now by Toronto. Point of attack is switched. Ayari coming inside. Stojadinovic. Dimitru. Ayari turns, looking for options. Hassan Ayari. McDonald's heavy touch, and it just pops up on him. And that will be a foul as McDonald was pushed down by Facundo Canetti. And again, that spell of possession just working Carolina core. And off this turnover, Canetti running right into McDonald, and a free kick upcoming for Toronto. So Juan Pablo Rodriguez is down. Juan Barrow is having a conversation with the head referee, Fabricio Sassola. And also, Michael Sullivan has come over to be a part of that conversation. Rodriguez is still down. As Toronto is setting up for their free kick. There was some pushing and shoving. Rodriguez is now sitting up. Now he's back to his feet. Every inch important, as you can see, on the edge of the 18. And Daquan Barrow being one of the bigger targets. Trying to find his position, but we'll see how Toronto wants to play this. McDonald and Ayari are the two potential kick takers. It will be Ayari, and a punch away by Alex Sutton. Comfortable in the end by Sutton. This portion of the match is brought to you by MasterCard, proud sponsor and fan of Toronto FC2. 79th minute of action as as we venture toward the 80th, and we're level at 1 apiece. Once again, necessary conversation. This is excellent refereeing from Fabrizio Stasola, just trying to keep hold of things in the late stages of this match. Not wanting to caution anyone if there's no need to, but trying to play peacemaker. But in a hotly contested match like this, that's coming down to the wire, have to believe that the aggression level is only going to rise. Patrick McDonald prepares to take this corner. Driven into the box. Ball is bouncing in the box and then cleared away. This initial header, you see it was Fisher who nodded it on. Now Sutton had came out for it. Derek Cuevas ready to enter the field of play. And Gloria Nzingo, who has the lone goal on the day for Carolina Core, will come out. So fresh legs and another potential score for Carolina Core. Derek Cuevas comes on. Cuevas, who played last year at Barcelona's U20s. The Dominican Youth International, has capped with the U20s and U23s. He is a very slippery athlete. He can really slide through and make things difficult on a defense. Nice dummy play. Ayari could not take hold of it as Barrow let it run through. Carolina Core has had no trouble with Toronto defensively, breaking that initial pressure. But Toronto again, outside of the goal that was given up to Nzingo, really has not allowed for any connecting of passes in the final third. They've had numbers behind the ball. They played in the low block, and it's been extremely difficult for Carolina Core to create anything. This is a creator on the pitch now, and Cuevas. Leonardi cannot scurry around. As this ball comes to Edwards, he decides to work back. Second ball down to Jacob Evans. Charles out to Leonardi, into Cuevas, and Wilson easily up for it and brings it down very calmly. Shafiq Wilson has been very comfortable today. Man down, needing to be stretched out. Andre Dumitru. Carolina Core has used 2 windows. Toronto has used none of their substitution windows. It's a nice idea by Cuevas. Canetti was arriving, but too much air on that cross. Juan Pablo Rodriguez goes up on the back of Nathaniel Edwards. The fans are not happy about it. Wanting there to be a little bit more than just a throw-in. Edwards can't keep this in. All the supporters right there to the right of your screen, they had good eyes on it. They felt like it was kept in. '86th minute. 1-1. Time of the essence now as the press forces the mistake by Carolina Core, and a throw-in in the final third for Toronto. And Toronto holding up so substitutions can be made. I mentioned that they had very short bench. So Nathaniel Edwards will come out. Malik Henry will come on. A like-for-like substitution. And Costa Iliadis will come on for Andre Dimitru. And there's a free kick upcoming. A complete shove of Daquan Barrow. And a free kick opportunity, a set piece for Toronto late in this match. Ayari whips the ball in. Oh, it was well set up. Fisher was ready for it, but could not navigate the ball on target. Just as you draw it up, Fisher was available and unmarked with a wide open header. Just could not put the ball on frame. Is that the last clear-cut chance for Toronto? Will Carolina have a clear-cut chance as we venture towards the 90th? Evans held up. Stojanovic pokes this out. Toronto back on the ball, looking for a win in their home opener. If this match was to end level, we would go to a shootout. Both teams would earn a point, and we'll see who'd earn the extra point. Fisher can't keep this in. He'll be out for a throw. Leonardi can't keep this in as he was racing down the sideline. 90th minute. Toronto's goal scorer, McDonald, on the ball now. Back to Italo. The fourth official announcing a minimum of 3 minutes of added time. Fisher, what a ball. Daquan Barrow ends up with it, but he loses his footing. Iliadis comes back out for it. McDonald into Henry, who just came on. Barrow returns to Sullivan. Now McDonald. Iliadis on the inline, cuts it back, and it's off of Chica, but for Carolina Core's sake, on the right side of that post. This could have been a disastrous end to the match for Carolina Core, as this cross was off the shoulder of Chica. So Drake Hadid is ready to come on. Hadid comes on for Alenga Charles. McDonald sends this ball into the box. Sutton misses it, and shouts for handball. Italo's shot was right on the arm of a Carolina Core defender. And Toronto is not going to be happy with nothing coming out of this. Italo goes right up. This ball is booted out by Chisholm. But Italo was shooting towards goal. An arm was out, away from the body, but not deemed illegal. And we have just 30 seconds remaining in added time. Chisholm, a turnover to Canetti. Now Evans, what might be the final action. Cuevas just wants to get something into the box. Leonardi. Evans around to Juarez. And that will do it. Carolina Core doesn't have an opportunity, and this match will end in a draw, tied on the scoreline. So both teams will earn a point on the season, and we will go to a shootout to see who will earn the extra point. We'll take a break to give you all the rules for our shootout at the end of regulation.
Should be a fun season of MLS Next Pro. Oh my! Pedrinho wins it!
At the end of regulation, Since the teams are tied on the scoreboard, the match will extend to a shootout, with each team having 5 attempts. If the teams are tied after 5 attempts, they will go to sudden death. The shootout winner will receive an extra point in the regular season standings.
Well, now let's take a look at how we got here. Scoring came in the first half. And as Facundo Canetti, who had 7 assists last year, found Glory Nzingo, and he goes over the top. The goalkeeper, Shafiq Wilson. And then almost immediately after, Toronto had a response. It was Patrick McDonald. And there were no goals in the second half, so we finished full time at 1-1. And we will now go to a shootout to see who will earn an extra point on the season. So Toronto in their home opener, unbeaten. Carolina Core will shoot first. And Shafiq Wilson, who's making his debut on the year, the 23-year-old graduate of University of Albany, will be in between the sticks to start. Wilson made numerous necessary saves today, and so he will now be called upon in the biggest moment of the match here late, trying to earn the all-important extra point. Jacob Evans, the captain, has the ball in his hands for Carolina Core, and he will be the first kick taker of this shootout. Evans played with Houston Dynamo Dos for 2 seasons before coming to play for Carolina Core last year. Evans, true from the spot, top shelf. And an excellent kick to start this shootout. And that is how you dispatch a penalty. Now Hassan Ayari, his trek forward, and ball into the box. Was off the foot of Barrow. It hit the post and then turned into Patrick McDonald's tap-in goal. Now from the spot to knot things up. And Ayari over the crossbar and out. Just got behind this as he was shooting. And Carolina Core now in front 1-0 after one attempt. Don't see this every day. Second kicker is the goalkeeper, Alex Sutton. And calm as you like. Sutton makes it 2-0. Just beautiful power behind it. A confident kick from the spot from the goalkeeper. Now Italo, the Brazilian youth international, played at the U15, U17 levels. Just having to wait because Sutton has to put his gloves back on. Slow walk up, and Italo, very calm. Telling Sutton, I watched you the entire time. And where Sutton did not go, Italo did. gamesmanship. So Drake Hadid, who came on for the last minute of added time, came on for this reason. To take a spot kick in the shootout. Hadid, a former member of the West Ham Youth Academy. And shushing the crowd. Very rarely do you hear a Drake shushed in Toronto, but Hadid hammers home that penalty. So Daquan Barrow steps up. Very important penalty now. Barrow is blocked by Sutton. So Sutton has scored one from the spot and now has stifled Toronto. And things becoming bleak for TFC2, looking for the extra point. Still 2 more kicks to take. Juan Pablo Rodriguez. Oh, it's Carolina Core's day as he puts the finishing touches on the extra point, off the post and in. And Carolina Core right at the fan section. And that's what it's all about. Competitive fury from Carolina. And Carolina Core will earn the extra point. Juan Pablo Rodriguez, what a hit to put the finishing touches on the extra point. Carolina Core comes across the border and will leave with 2 points after that from Juan Pablo Rodriguez. So the final, Toronto 1, Carolina 1, and Carolina Core earns the extra point. 4-1 in the shootout with your entire MLS Next Pro broadcast crew. My name is James Hadnot saying so long from Toronto, Ontario. Don't forget you can watch MLS Next Pro all season long at MLS Season Pass on Apple TV and MLSNextPro.com. Have a blessed evening.
This copyrighted broadcast of Major League Soccer may not be retransmitted, reproduced, or rebroadcast without the express written consent of Major League Soccer.